What's a childhood memory that almost all of us have? Not being allowed to turn the light on in the car. You know what I love about this thread? The reminder of our shared human experience. So easy to get caught up in all the divisions that are created to keep us from achieving more together as a unified world. But then we read stories like this, and resonate with so many different funny memories, and really, we have all at one point been a bunch of young tykes who was curious about the world before spite or bitterness set in, pain or heartbreak, and we just existed, living with curiosity and wonderment, having funny experiences and endless adventures, and then, one day, we are forced into an awareness that removes that lens, and we forget. Caught up in endless chaos, hatred, violence, cycles of abuse, trauma. My anecdote is the first time I discovered rainbows existing when you angled the hose spray up into the sky. And then trying to find the chest of gold at the end. Been a while since I've seen a rainbow. This thread was a good read, thanks Op. I feel like thunderstorms were a bigger and more frequent event when I was a kid. They seemed to last all day. Yes. Accidentally snapping a ruler in half while testing how bendy it is. Did it right in front of the teacher. Boy was I embarrassed. Staying up really late and feeling excited and kind of like you're doing something bad even though your parents are okay with it. Waking up early and getting dressed, realizing it's a weekend, or even better, a snow day riding in the car on a rainy day. Either trying to step on no cracks or on only cracks on the sidewalk. Your mother's back was in constant jeopardy. Too much responsibility for how old we were. I still do it hauling ass upstairs after turning the lights off so whatever the darkness has behind you doesn't eat you alive. Did you guys stop doing this? One time I remember I felt brave walking back to my room in the dark and not running. Then something spooked my cat and she sprinted past me and up the stairs like a bat out of hell. All courage disappeared at that moment. That dreaded feeling of forgetting your homework. I once dreamed doing my homework, and genuinely thought I'd done it. It was such a vivid dream, I could remember what I'd written about. I remember the shock of opening up my workbook, only to see a blank page where the assignment was supposed to be. Moments before I had to hand it in. Later I was annoyed that I'd wasted such a vivid dream on doing my homework instead of flying to another planet or something. When I'm going through a stressful time, I tend to have a dream where I show up for school and don't know what classroom I'm supposed to be in, I don't have any of my books, I don't know where my locker is, I don't have my homework, and I'm not even sure what grade I'm in. I always get caught in the hall by the same bitchy English teacher and that's when I realize I forgot to put on pants. Those are bad dreams. Wow, that blew up. Thanks for the award, kind stranger. I have this dream every year or so and it's so weird to wake up in a nervous panic and remembering that you are an adult and you never have to set foot in a school again, assuming you don't have children. Taste of that wooden stick from ice cream, you can't remember the ice cream but you can remember the taste of stick. Wow, this get big. Thanks for beating my record, pumping karma and for award. It tastes like wood. How the school seemed a different world when you stayed late, or had to be there on a weekend. I could definitely run faster if I was in the hallways after school. Why did running in the halls feel like the best feeling ever? The sweet, sweet forbidden fruit. Or when you saw a teacher outside of school, grocery store, for example, it was always shocking, like a gorilla had escaped the zoo and was doing people things. You were just shocked this person could actually exist outside of the school building. One of my students caught me and another teacher absolutely shit-faced in a ski lodge a solid 2 hours away from our school in the middle of vacation once we thought we were safe. I ran into a teacher at a ski area 2 hours away too, but she wasn't shit-faced. 2 hours may seem like a safe distance, but realistically, in any metro area, there is probably a popular vacation area 2 hours away where it wouldn't be crazy to see someone you know. I went back to my old elementary school and it felt so small. I remember it being this labyrinthian castle, but no, just a regular school. Our moms leaving us at checkout to look for something, then the cashier starts to scan the items. And the insane amount of anxiety that comes with it. I love this one. What did we think would happen? Well, clearly they were going to expect us to pay. What I mean you can't pay? Get the manager, we've got a grocer and dasher. You're going to big boy jail _. Oh no, will it end up on my permanent record? Having a wiggly tooth. Being an adult with no baby teeth left and panicking for a moment when you thought one of them moved. I still have one baby tooth at 42. Right top canine never came in. People just assume I still have my baby teeth frown. I've been asked if I've lost my baby teeth since I was 13, I'm almost 23 now. Like man, I just have small teeth, leave me be. And when it's barely hanging on yet it won't come out, so you have to avoiding chewing in that part of your mouth. And when it's super wiggly, pushing it out with your tongue and then returning it back to its place, still attached. God, that was such a weird, yet fun feeling. I had one tooth that just kept taking the wiggles. Never-ending ADHD solution. Why is the moon following the car? And also imagining a weird human figure running along the skyline and or sidewalk keeping pace with the car. That one might be more specific, but I used to do it and I saw someone else post about it, so it's gotta be more common than I think. Also, mechanical pencils as syringes, aha. Holy shit, I thought I was the only one who imagined someone running. The occasional random awkward silence in class until someone says, "Why'd it get quiet?" I vividly remember that happening once, aged 12, and the reason it had gone quiet was that the most fearsome teacher in the whole school had walked into the room. I can't explain how terrified we all were of this teacher, and we all felt that lad's utter horror when he realized his mistake. Connecting the markers into really long lightsabers. And then trying to swing it and having the entire thing just fall apart in your hands. Just triggered a core memory from the back of the memory vault. Skinning the palms of your hands on the pavement. More especially the lower palms. Either tripping, falling off your bike, falling down in general. That burn and stinging and the scraps with just a little blood and grime. Thank you for the award. Even though I'm an adult now, this happened to me a couple weeks ago. My dog accidentally pulled me down in the parking lot and I scrapped up my hands. Hasn't happened to me in years. I fell down for the first time in like I don't even know how long. I scraped my palms and all I could think about was how nostalgic it felt. The nostalgia came from commonly accidentally falling while having fun as a kid. And my recent fall was not that serious or painful. Please don't get any wrong intentions. I ran over the road to the bus, shoelace caught, face planted, groceries flying everywhere. Some angel guy helped me, but I could barely get out a thank you through the pain. Thought, holy shit, how frail we heavy ass adults are compared to kids. Still have nerve damage in my knees. Yep. I fell off my bike and grazed my elbow a while ago. The graze was a bit annoying, but the head to toe muscle and joint pain for days after was terrible. Also, I remember nearly passing out when I stood up after the accident. It wasn't even that painful. My body just went into shock. The worst part was having to patch myself up at a pharmacy nearby and having to go to work straight after. Being an adult sucks. Scraping your knee and getting gravel embedded in both your knees and palms. The smell of crayons. And Play-Doh. Thinking that teenagers are really cool. I remember on my first day of 9th grade, an older teenager with a wispy mustache bumped into me in the cafeteria line and he said in a shitty British accent, "Ah, excuse me, my good man." And I just thought, man, this place is classy. That was a very classy thing to say to a little kid. I got mladied by 10th grader one time when I was in 8th grade and I was like, wow, chivalry isn't dead. What a mistake. When I was in school, the elementary was either right next to the middle high school and later on was added in the middle high school, so we were always close by, and I can confirm this. I also always remembered high schoolers looking so much older as a kid, but when I was in high school all the high schoolers still looked like middle schoolers. Hiding in department store clothes racks. Thank you, kind strangers, for the awards. My mom would find me because she could just listen for the clothes rack that was giggling. My mom would pretend she couldn't find me and move on. She tried to lose me a lot. Playing in slash with a box fort. Thinking someone is your mom or dad and then realizing it's not. Calling your teacher mom by accident. I'm almost kissed my teacher on her cheek when I was 7, 'Cause I saw other kid did it. Turn out the other kid just whisper something to her lol. That's hilarious. Cue entire class laughing. My brother hugged a guy from behind thinking it was our dad. To be fair, both had Hawaiian shirts, cargo shorts, and sandals, and the guy awkwardly looks behind him to see some adolescent boy hugging him, and just says peace, man, and holds up a peace sign. Floor is lava and keep the balloon in the air. Balancing the light switch between on and off. This was the reason why I got in trouble a lot in preschool. Turning the lights off and on relentlessly until the teacher came over. Being gifted a small amount of money and thinking you were rich. $20 was a world of possibilities. I grew up in a third world country. I vacationed in the States for the first time when I was a 5th grader in 2009. Since the trip coincided with my birthday, I was given a birthday card and in it was $25 given by my cousins who migrated there. When we flew back home, I converted it with dad to the local currency and I used it to buy 3 liters of Mountain Dew and a ton of junk food for my friends and I. Hung out by the river and consumed it throughout the afternoon lol. Good times. Holy F, I didn't know a core memory of mine would blow up. To put it into context, $25 was approximately PHP 1,200 Philippine pesos in 2009, more than double the daily minimum wage of $11, and actually still is in 2022. To put it into even more context, $1 at the time was enough for whatever soda of my choice, in a small plastic bag with a colorful plastic straw, plus a couple of hot dog sandwiches at a local Koreandria, cafeteria, or like 3 bags of junk food and 5 sachets of nuts. $25 for a kid like me felt like $1,000,000 pesos at the time. Taking advantage of exchange rates to make your junk food dollar go further, what a pro move. Making friends with other kids at a public pool or playground and never seeing them again. Or a hotel while on vacation. When I went on holiday once, I befriended a girl from Poland at the hotel. We were there 2 weeks and she stayed a few days longer than us. We were besties within my nights and hung out together the whole time. Ovs from different countries didn't exchange numbers or anything. AMD, we cried when we said goodbye for the final time. 15 or so years later, I go off to university nowhere near where I'm from and settle into dorms. 2 weeks into moving out, we are told a new person's moving into our block cause we had an empty room. In comes this girl AMD, she introduces herself and we all have a family dinner, aka got drunk, that night to welcome her to the dorm. About 4 months after she moved in, she comes to my room and we are chatting cause she's homesick and we exchange silly family stories like the time my brother had to be rescued from a tube slide by the fire brigade cause he's a dumbass. I show her some pictures of my family when I was younger and she asks if I'd been on holiday to this place many years ago and I said yes, and she gets out her phone and rings her mom, which I didn't understand a word of lol. Then 20 nights after she hangs up, she gets a text and shows me a photo of the 2 of us as kids playing in the park of our hotel. Probably one of the few things that made me question if fate is real. Yes, we are still friends. We even lived together for a few years after uni ended. The world is a really small place. Playing sword fight with the cardboard tubes of wrapping paper. I could hear this comment. Whoomp. Jumping off the swings. When I was in 3rd grade, a kid in my class broke his arm doing that. Good times. Randomly thinking I will remember this moment for the rest of my life and it's just you staring at a couch or some shit. I specifically remember sitting on the toilet when I was maybe 7 looking at my shorts thinking I was going to remember these shorts in this moment. 25 years later, I remember the moment and decibel don't remember what the shorts looked like. So how many decibels were you shitting at? I've once read somewhere that your future self is watching you right now through memories and I was super self-conscious about it. Thinking what if this moment is just life flashing before my eyes and that I'm actually dying in a ditch somewhere. LMFAO. I thought I was the only one. WTF. I thought I was unique when I did this as a kid. I did it a bit too often and forgot most of the moments though. Not being able to touch the ground with your feet while sat on a normal, adult-sized, chair or seat. I'm fairly short, so I can still experience this on occasion. Talking into a fan to hear your voice sound weird. Inhaling helium. How exciting it was walk into your class and see a substitute. Trying to see how the refrigerator light turn off. I figured out how that works when I was around 8, and I'm still proud of that. Don't tell us how, we still want to figure it out ourselves. I was watching my 2.5-year-old trying to figure this out a few days ago. Peers into the fridge while slowly closing the door, then standing inside the fridge. Don't worry, the shelves don't allow him to fit or close the door, trying to close the door with him inside, and finally discovering the little button. He was so happy, pushing that button over and over, grinning like a weirdo. Climbing up the stairs like a dog. I still do this. Or jumping down the full flight of stairs using the handrail to get that extra distance. Kids are fearless, man. Staring at the school clock. I swear whenever I would look at that clock the class felt like it went on longer. Scholastic book fairs. Man, all of these responses made me incredibly nostalgic. And really sad knowing the days of my youth are long behind me. Someone knowing how to draw the weird S. Ah yes, the cool S. Those 3D cubes. The shadow that followed alongside the car doing amazing feats of parkour to keep up. Finding a really cool stick and imagining it as any object we wanted: sword, lightsaber, wand, laser gun act. Fun fact, the stick was recognized as an iconic part of childhood, so it was introduced to the Toy Hall of Fame, being referred as the world's oldest toy. At one point I had a branch that I found on a walk that looked like Jack Frost's staff from Rise of the Guardians. That was the ultimate stick. Besides this even bigger one that was affectionately named Old Conniption after my mom's reaction to me dragging it in the house. Are you a dog? Pushing on our eyes until we saw patterns appear. Classic for when school is boring. Never found an explanation for the patterns, and when I mentioned it everyone thought I was insane or on drugs. Nero. Anda harp boy howdy, I just went down the rabbit hole a few weeks ago with this question. Apparently, if I'm not mistaken, the visuals are called phosphenes. When you push on your eyes, or even close them hard enough, it can actually depolarize the rods and cones. It essentially sends a signal to the brain and the brain interprets it as visual patterns, which is why you see stuff. Even if you don't press on your eyes, you still see patterns. I was told, way back in my psychology class, that your brain creates those because of the communication between your eyes and brain. You cannot just see black. The feeling of triumph rearranging your room, new me. Watching raindrops racing down a car window and picking a winner. I liked seeing which drop would absorb the most and become the biggest, or if it would get caught in 9 of the little streams of water falling down. I still do this. Not fixing it. Suffer loser. Getting the wind knocked out of you. The foam football that always had a bite taken out of it. Not being able to find your mom in the supermarket. Keeping place in the quickly shortening checkout line while your mom gets something she forgot. Awkwardly looking at the checkout worker like, yeah, I'm pretty sure she's coming back. Just getting some milk. Had to do this to my kid the other day, and I remember someone once posted how anxiety-inducing it is, so I explained to him carefully and told him that I will be back way before his turn comes up, but if for whatever reason I'm not, it's a full trolley and will take some time to ring up, and I will definitely be back before then, and if I'm not. He interrupted me, and with an eye roll said, Dad, you could have been back already. Panicking because you don't have any money to pay and the cashier will be mad. I remember being a kid and telling the cashier that my mom was really tall, like really tall with big BBS. My mom is 5 feet 8 inches. She isn't exactly a giant, but to me she was. Attention! Will the tall woman with big BBS please come to register 3? That is all. Half the men in the store wander over. Nuzzling up next to your mom, only to discover she's not your mom. I did something similar. I tossed something I wanted into the cart, only to realize that the lady pushing the shopping cart, whom I thought was my mom, wasn't. The balloon game where it can't touch the floor. Some seriously impressive dives and kicks came out of this game. My kung fu instructor came up with a version of this where you're allowed to punch and kick each other while trying to get the balloon through a goal at either end of the room. We played it once and never again, but it was talked about for months after. Kinda related to this, my softball coach, this was year 5 and 6 players, made a game for the end of the year. He threw 2 softballs in opposite directions, and you had to work in teams to get the balls back to him. The teams were year 5 versus year 6, besides that, there were no rules. Never again. The camp I went to and later worked at had something similar. It was appropriately named Slaughter. Essentially steal the bacon, with a rugby ball or bean bags, in a soccer field, with no rules. I'm not even sure why we had a rugby ball, considering this was in the US. Eventually we had to send 2 people to the ER during a staff game in the midst of a wild-ass summer thunderstorm. One with a broken arm, the other with a gnarly gash that needed to be stitched. That ended it permanently. Good times though. A few weeks ago our restaurant was completely dead for about 2 hours, so we blew up some latex gloves and played this in the dining room. Do people see the same colors as the colors I do? Or would their purple look like my yellow? I had an existential crisis thinking about this when I was a kid. The summer holidays lasted forever. Might be an Australian thing, but the smell of hose water when you play outside in the sprinkler / in a paddling pool / with water balloons or water pistols. Whenever I water the garden for my parents just reminds me of summer. Good vibes. Yes, or that smell of freshly cut grass and the clippings getting all over your feet as you played in the sprinkler. The smell of wooden pencils, crayons. Anybody else love to squint their eyes at lights when riding in the car at night? Then you move your head side to side for a cool light show? Or imagine a little man running along the power lines? Looking outside the window of the car and imagining something running alongside the car. And hand surfing the wind / skateboarding the terrain outside the window. When it became dark all of a sudden because a cloud covered the sun in the middle of the day. The smell of wooden pencils, crayons. Anybody else love to squint their eyes at lights when riding in the car at night? Then you move your head side to side for a cool light show? Or imagine a little man running along the power lines? Looking outside the window of the car and imagining something running alongside the car. And hand surfing the wind / skateboarding the terrain outside the window. When it became dark all of a sudden because a cloud covered the sun in the middle of the day. I remember the sky being really blue too, and storms made everything almost pitch black. I think kids are prone to remembering things in extremes. How different the air felt on the morning of field trips. The smell of the last day of school. The air in the hallways just felt lighter. Also the first day of school. I seem to remember that more because you didn't really smell anything like that over the summer, so it hit you harder. God, everything was different that morning, wasn't it? The teacher was suddenly wearing different outside clothes, there were a bunch of new adult chaperones, the bus, being able to listen to music on the way, depending on the grade. Field trips were the bestest. Best was when it was a far enough away trip and the bus rented a different bus that had TVs and even a bathroom. My 5th grade class got to watch The Lord of the Rings on the way to a zoo 3 hours away. We were allowed to have soda and candy on the bus. We left at about 7 and got to the zoo around 10, stayed till 5, and got back to school around 8. We did a similar field trip later in the school year and went to Fort Sumter in Charleston with the same type of bus, except that time we watched Shrek. 5th grade kicked ass. That bus sounds sick. Sadly my school can only afford a cheap bus, but the trip is amazing anyway. This is such a specific feeling. The same air as track and field days. Cold. Crisp. Fresh. Dude, you gonna make me cry. I miss my childhood. Number a sheet of paper from 1 to 10. Envying the adults who could buy whatever they wanted. That envy has only grown larger. Putting our small child-sized feet into an adult shoe. Running up the stairs to avoid whatever might be trying to get you from behind. If you don't look back, it can't get you. I looked back once and it got me. Been a zombie ever since. Falling asleep in the car and waking up in bed. Or waking up right as you pulled into your driveway. But pretending you're still asleep so you get carried in. This hit close to home. That last turn always hit different. Pretending to be asleep so someone would carry you in. Collecting smooth round rocks for no reason except that they were smooth and round. Whacking your shin with a bike pedal when your foot slips off. Walking between two sides of a sheet hung over a laundry line. Making a blanket fort in the living room. Looking at an object in the distance, then doing something weird with your eyes to make it look like there's two of said object. Hold the flashlight still. The huge rainbow parachute game where everyone was in a circle fanning it up and down, and going underneath it and it being a whole different world under there. Spinning around until we fall from dizziness, then laying in the grass and finding shapes in the clouds. Remember the feeling of the world tilting after you fell? Coming home from school. Whether you came home just to plop on the couch and watch some cartoons, or you immediately ran to your Xbox to play video games, or you ran right back out the door to go hang out with your friends, nothing beat the feeling of being done with school for the day or the week, and you had nothing but good times ahead to look forward to. Stabbing erasers with pencils. In Australia we have Healthy Harold, a puppet run by a lady in a van that goes to schools and teaches you about the dangers of smoking, alcohol and poor diet. Everyone claims to have seen her smoking out the back of her van. Seems to be a common memory here despite its probability. Hanging off the side of the bed to see what your room looked like upside down, and imagining walking on the ceiling. Having to sleep with all of your teddy bears at once so that none of them feel bad. Writing boobs in the calculator. Flicking the door stopper so it goes all boing. Bubble hair and beard in the bath. Musical chairs? No? Just me? Lol. Being homesick from school.
Consider subscribing this video if you enjoyed and wish to see more. Thanks for watching.